When NASA's Webb and Hubble telescopes detected 3I/ATLAS subtly slowing down and shifting into a stable solar orbit, it shattered every expectation. This was supposed to be a fleeting visitor from the stars, an interstellar comet on a one-way trip. Instead, it stopped. It stayed. Even more unnerving, its motion wasn't random. The trajectory shift was so precise that some astronomers now question whether it was acting under its own control. And then came the secondary object, a smaller metallic follower keeping perfect pace. Together, they've triggered a seismic shift in how scientists interpret deep space behavior, and maybe even intelligence. If you're still watching, subscribe now. You crave more than answers. You seek what lies beyond. Subscribe now, and be part of the few who never stop searching. This isn't just about an oddball comet anymore. The implications of 3I/ATLAS's decision to remain, possibly as an ancient probe, an autonomous seed, or something entirely unknown, redefine the boundaries of our cosmic understanding. With its spiral tail, magnetic disturbances, and cryptic radio signals tied to the fine structure constant, 3I/ATLAS could be the first true sign of extraterrestrial engineering inside our solar system. If it's here to observe or communicate, then we're already part of a much larger conversation, one we've only just begun to hear. Something's wrong with 3I/ATLAS. It was supposed to pass through, just another fast interstellar visitor on a hyperbolic arc, making a one-time trip through the solar system before vanishing into deep space forever. That's how these objects behave. That's what the math predicts. A clean entry, a clean exit, no interference, no permanence. But that's not what's happening. What we're seeing instead breaks every rule we've come to expect. The comet has changed course, subtly at first, then with increasing precision. It's not decelerating like a random object responding to solar drag. It's slowing down in calculated stages, adjusting its speed, altering its trajectory, matching the profile of a controlled maneuver. And that should be impossible. No natural object does that. No comet, no asteroid, no chunk of frozen rock just decides to abandon its escape path and enter into orbit around the sun. Yet that's exactly what 3I/ATLAS has done. It's no longer on a hyperbolic path. It's no longer just passing through. It's staying. It's captured. But not in the way gravity normally captures an object. This isn't a fluke. This is something else. This is precision. We've never seen this before, ever. Scientists initially dismissed the early deviations in its orbit. Calculations can be off. Dust jets from sublimating ice can push small bodies slightly, but those effects are random. This wasn't random. The changes became more complex, more deliberate. They began to stack. They began to form a pattern. Then the rotation changed. Over time, the object's spin slowed, not by external forces like tidal friction or drag, but internally, like something was regulating itself, like an onboard mechanism was managing angular momentum. A comet doesn't do that, but a spacecraft might. And now it's in orbit. 3I/ATLAS is no longer transient. It's been captured into a repeating stable orbit around the sun, an orbit that should be completely impossible for an object with interstellar origin and no propulsion. Unless it wasn't passive. Unless it was active. That's when the alarms started going off. Not public ones. Not dramatic ones. But the quiet kind inside observatories, among research teams behind the scenes. Because this wasn't just about altered motion anymore. This was about intent. Then came the anomalies. Magnetic disturbances, localized, specific and repeatable, detected by instruments monitoring solar wind interactions. Patterns that didn't align with any known cometary behavior. A subtle ripple in the magnetic field. A steady pulse of interference. Like something buried within or emanating from the object itself. That's when things started to escalate. The James Webb Space Telescope caught a spectral irregularity. Then Hubble confirmed it. There was something following 3I/ATLAS, a secondary object, metallic, small, moving in formation, consistently spaced, consistently stable. It wasn't a fragment. It wasn't debris. It moved with too much precision, a companion, or a drone. And that changed everything. Because now it wasn't just about one object. Now it was about a system, a configuration, possibly a machine with components. The primary body, followed by a secondary unit, working together, coordinated, autonomous, not tumbling randomly through space like natural fragments, but moving with order. And then came the signals. Radio anomalies, subtle bursts, not loud enough to be chatter, not structured enough to be a clear message, but not noise either. The bursts were patterned, timed, and they repeated a value, one that physicists recognized immediately: the inverse of the fine structure constant, not random, not meaningless. That number defines the strength of electromagnetic interaction. It's fundamental, unchanging, universal. If you were trying to prove you understood physics, real physics, not human physics, you'd start with that. It's a handshake across the void, and it raises the most serious question of all. What is 3I/8LS? Because it's not just a comet. Not anymore. Not with deliberate deceleration. Not with orbit stabilization. Not with magnetic disturbances, rotation control, radio emissions, and a secondary object trailing in formation. That's not nature. That's design. And that opens the door to something even bigger. This might be a probe, an ancient probe, an autonomous seed, launched eons ago, sent out not to make contact, not to interfere, but to observe, to wait, to collect, to study. There are researchers now who believe exactly that. They think 3I/8LS might be part of a much older system, one that predates modern civilization, maybe even predates Earth itself, something built by a distant intelligence, not to speak, not to intervene, but to watch. And now it's decided to stay. That's the part no one can explain. It had every reason to leave. Its velocity was more than enough to escape the sun, but it slowed. It reoriented. It stabilized. It's here now. It's in orbit. And it isn't leaving. That changes everything. Because this isn't just about one object anymore. This is about what it represents. If 3I/8LS is artificial, that means someone, something sent it, and they sent it here. Or at least through here. And that raises a more uncomfortable question. Why? Why now? Why this system? Why this solar neighborhood? With its one blue planet currently broadcasting radio waves and chemical signatures of life. And if it's watching, what is it watching for? We might already be under observation. Not in a paranoid sense. Not in some sci-fi fantasy. But in a very real, very clinical way. Like a laboratory being studied. Not interfered with. Not manipulated. Just recorded. And if it's an autonomous seed, it could be waiting for something. Some signal. Some technological threshold. Some condition that triggers a response. Maybe to transmit data. Maybe to activate. Maybe to do nothing at all. Just to continue monitoring until the next civilization stumbles across it. That's what makes this so difficult. Because the implications are enormous, but the evidence is subtle. No flashing lights. No messages in English. Just movement. Just physics. Just signals and behavior that point to intelligence, without declaring it outright. And now that object is a resident. 3I/8LS is no longer an outsider. It's not drifting off into the dark. It's circling our star. It's become a solar object. A captured piece of alien technology. Hiding in plain sight, obeying orbital mechanics it never should have encountered. The scientific community is divided. Some call it coincidence. Others call it malfunction. A few say it's a natural object behaving in very unnatural ways. But the ones paying attention know better. They see the pattern. They see the impossible orbit. They see the companion craft. And they know this isn't chance. This is deliberate. And it might be the first real sign that we are not alone. Not in theory. Not in dreams. In data. In hard evidence. In repeated measurable, undeniable anomalies. The kind that force a re-evaluation of everything we thought we knew about how the universe works, and who might be working within it. This is no longer about curiosity. It's about preparation. Because if this is contact, it's not the kind we expected. It's quiet. It's distant. It's deeply intentional. And it forces us to ask the one question we never thought we'd face this early. What do they want? We don't have that answer. Not yet. But we're watching now. closely, relentlessly. Because for the first time in human history, something from out there may have chosen to stay. And that choice has changed everything. If you're following this story, if you see the importance of what this could mean, share it. Let others know what's unfolding right now, in our skies. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel. Because the universe may already be speaking. We just started listening. Every calculation said it was impossible. Every model, every simulation, every projection, all of it agreed. An interstellar object enters, it passes, it leaves. There is no capture. There is no orbit. There is no staying. Yet here we are, watching an object from another star system make itself comfortable in ours. 3I/8LS has defied the fundamental rules of celestial mechanics. What was supposed to be a brief encounter has become a residency. The object that came screaming into the solar system on a hyperbolic path, an open trajectory designed by the raw physics of interstellar motion, has somehow slowed down. Not randomly, not chaotically, in deliberate, measured stages. And that's what no one can explain. Because there's no natural way for that to happen. A comet can lose speed when it ejects material. Sure. But not like this. Not with this precision. The deceleration fits a control pattern. A feedback response. Something adjusting itself in real time, compensating for mass loss and gravitational influence. It's controlled. That's the unavoidable truth. Astronomers first noticed the anomaly when orbital data from the Hubble Space Telescope didn't match earlier measurements. The object's predicted path diverged, slightly but consistently, over the course of months. Then it happened again. The drift wasn't noise, it was action. Controlled thrust without visible exhaust, without known propulsion, without explanation. Then the next anomaly appeared. Its spin rate changed. Slowly at first, then in smooth calculated increments. Natural objects don't adjust their own rotation. They tumble. They drift. They react to collisions or radiation pressure. But this looked more like a managed process. Like something that knew exactly how fast it wanted to turn. And with every change, its orbit stabilized. By the time the data reached the planetary defense networks, 3I/8LS wasn't just visiting anymore. It was captured. Locked into an orbital pattern that loops around the sun with uncanny precision. A closed trajectory, repeating. Stable. No longer an outsider. Now a resident of the solar system. No one had words for it. Because gravity didn't do this. The sun didn't do this. Nothing we know of did this. What came next deepened the mystery. As telescopes tracked the object, they detected subtle magnetic fluctuations, localized ripples that didn't align with solar activity or cometary interactions. The readings were structured, as though something within the object was generating a magnetic field. Then came the discovery of a secondary signal, a faint glint, metallic, following 3I/8LS at a consistent distance. Two objects. Moving together. Perfectly synchronized. The smaller one, barely a few meters across, maintained its distance, never drifting closer or farther. That's not how debris behaves. It's how formation flying works. Controlled spacing. Controlled alignment. And that was the moment the theory shifted. If it wasn't just a comet, if it wasn't just a rock, what was it? Some researchers started whispering the unthinkable. Maybe 3I/8LS wasn't natural at all. Maybe it was artificial. An ancient probe. An autonomous seed, traveling between star systems for millions of years, built to last. Built to wait. Built to watch. The term galactic observer began circulating quietly in scientific circles. The kind of term that no one dares say publicly, until the data leaves them no choice. Because how do you tell the world that a comet might be a machine? And then the signals came. Radio telescopes picked up faint emissions, not random bursts, not cosmic noise, but structured pulses repeating in intervals. Weak but clear. When analyzed, the signal pattern corresponded to one of the most fundamental constants in physics, the inverse of the fine structure constant. That number doesn't appear in nature by coincidence. It's the ratio that governs how light and matter interact. It's the signature of electromagnetism itself. If you wanted to prove you understood the basic laws of the universe, that's where you'd start. No one sends that number by accident. The transmission wasn't powerful enough to be communication in the human sense. It wasn't a broadcast. It was a marker, a declaration of presence, a calling card. At that point, it was no longer a question of whether 3I/8LS was acting strangely. The question became, who or what is behind it? If it is artificial, it may have been built long before humanity existed. A relic from another civilization that reached across the stars, not by traveling themselves, but by sending emissaries. Machines designed to observe, collect and wait. That's the terrifying part, because it implies intent. The comet didn't just arrive by chance. It changed its path deliberately. It slowed down. It inserted itself into a long-term orbit. It didn't just pass through. It stayed. That means it wanted to be here, and that's the part no one is prepared to confront. Because if it wanted to be here, it must have known this system existed. It must have known something about the planets, about the sun, about life. It could be studying everything, recording electromagnetic activity, atmospheric composition, artificial signals, energy emissions. It could be scanning, cataloging, transmitting, or waiting. Some scientists now theorize that 3I/8LS could be part of a larger network, one of countless probes scattered throughout the galaxy. Not active in a conventional sense. Dormant until conditions are right. Until a civilization reaches a certain level of technological development. Until it's time to send a signal home. If that's true, then the presence of 3I/8LS isn't an accident. It's a stage. Humanity may have triggered the next phase of observation, and then there's the smaller companion. The one following it in perfect formation. That may be the key. It could be a relay, a transmitter, a recorder. It could even be an autonomous satellite, designed to collect data and relay it back to the primary object. Whatever it is, it's not behaving like natural debris. It's moving with precision that no gravitational interaction can explain. This isn't chaotic motion, it's choreography. The implications of that are staggering. If 3I/8LS and its companion are engineered, then we're not observing a random interstellar artifact. We're looking at technology older and more advanced than anything on Earth. Technology capable of controlling motion on a scale that defies current propulsion physics. It's proof, if not of direct contact, then of prior existence. Something built it. Something sent it. And now it's here. We're no longer speculating about whether life exists elsewhere. We're confronting evidence that an intelligence might have already arrived, and has been here longer than we've realized. The world's scientific community is split. Some call for calm, urging caution before declaring any extraterrestrial connection. Others see the data and say the pattern is too deliberate to dismiss. But everyone agrees on one thing. Nothing like this has ever happened before. Because for the first time in human history, an interstellar object hasn't left. It's chosen to stay. The meaning of that choice is unknown. Is it observation? Is it surveillance? Is it waiting for contact? Or is it something entirely beyond our comprehension? If it's an ancient probe, it may have been operating for millions of years. If it's autonomous, it may not even have a creator left to report to. It could be the last survivor of a civilization long extinct, still following instructions written in a language of mathematics and magnetism. The thought is both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Because it means the universe remembers. And now we're part of that memory. 3I/8LS isn't just changing science, it's changing philosophy. It's forcing humanity to confront the idea that intelligence may not announce itself with noise and light, but with silence and patience. That contact may not begin with a signal directed at us, but with a presence simply staying. This isn't an invasion, it's an observation. And that might be even more unsettling. Because if it's here to watch, then it's learning. About us. About our world. About what we do when faced with the unknown. And maybe, just maybe, that's the point. 3I/8LS could be testing us, not in aggression, but in curiosity. To see if we recognize what it represents. To see if we're capable of understanding the universe beyond our own creation myths and technological pride. Maybe that's how civilizations communicate across time. Through quiet persistence. Through artifacts that outlive their makers. Through machines that refuse to leave. Whatever the purpose, one fact remains. 3I/Ateles is here. It's in orbit. It's stable. And it's not leaving. That's not a theory anymore. That's data. For generations, humans have asked the same question: are we alone? Now for the first time, the answer might be orbiting the same star we are, silent, precise, and waiting. If this is contact, it's contact on a cosmic timescale. Slow, deliberate, profound. The kind that changes everything. We've spent centuries searching the skies, listening for a voice in the dark, waiting for a sign, a message, a landing. But what if that sign was quieter than we expected? What if it came not with sound or spectacle, but with silence, precision, and purpose? 3I/Ateles isn't a comet anymore. It's a question parked in orbit around our sun. A question we're not ready to answer, but can no longer ignore. It's not leaving. It's not random. It's not alone. And maybe that's the most profound truth of all, that the universe doesn't knock. It watches. It waits. It tests. Now the test is ours. Will we observe? Will we listen? Will we understand? Or will we look away? If this matters to you, share it. Let it be known. Subscribe. Stay alert. Because something is here. And it's waiting.